to Howstuffinmycarworks channel. Today's video is about replacing the transmission filter on an MK4 Volkswagen Jetta. For the viewers that may not know what MK4 stands for, that is usually referred to the fourth generation of Volkswagens from Jettas, Golfs, GTIs, and Beetles. The MK4, the production years of the MK4 is 99 to 2005. Some of them could go all the way to 06, but on average it's 99 to 2005 is when you would see this particular body style. This is a 2001 model. It has an automatic transmission, obviously. That's why we're replacing the filter and the gasket. This particular Jetta is equipped with a VR6 engine, which is one of the best engines that Volkswagen made. It's a very responsive engine, has plenty of power, and it makes this vehicle a fun vehicle to drive. Changing the aromatic transmission fluid in this vehicle is not as complicated as it may appear. I'm going to show you how you can do it in your own garage without the use of any special tools whatsoever. None. So this is something you can do on the weekend, and it may save you anywhere from $300 to $400 depending on where you were planning to have your vehicle serviced. If you can buy the OEM fluid from a Volkswagen dealership, that's even better. Now, another thing to consider is I actually went to the extent of using a level, and I'll show you where I used it, to make sure that this car is completely level when doing this job, because that will be a critical point to make sure that the transmission fluid level is correct. If your car is in an angle, this is not a job that you can do by driving the front of the vehicle up. It's just not going to work. So I'm going to show you where to place this level to ensure the transmission fluid level is accurate. Okay, so I ended up placing the level right here on the molding of the car with the front door. And obviously I jacked it up on jack stands, and I made sure that it was completely level. Just like I mentioned earlier, this is going to ensure that the fluid level on the transmission is accurate, and I will know 100% without having to use special tools. So with that said, let's get started. Okay, so to get started with this job, it's necessary to remove the protective metal shield. Now, it's very likely that your vehicle is still going to have the plastic shield that goes in this side, so remove that first. This one was removed by the previous owner, so that's why it's not present. But in your case, take that off, and then next steps to remove this. It's going to be held by a bolt here, a bolt over here, and two bolts on the side, one here and then the one on the back. And the size needed to remove them is a 16mm socket. I'm just wiping this dirt off, keep it from getting inside the transmission, and I remove the pan, just extra caution. Okay, so obviously this is the transmission pan, no brainer. This is the drain plug. If you want to find out if your car has the correct fluid level before you even begin this job, make sure you start the engine and let it warm up to its operating temperature. Push the brakes and move your shifter throughout all the gears. Put it back in park, and with the engine running, remove this drain plug. When you remove the drain plug, if the transmission fluid level is full, you may see a couple of drips coming out of it once this drain plug is removed. The reason why is because this is not just a drain plug. There's also a level tube inside here. So now that you've done that, it's time to start draining some of the fluid with the engine off, so there will be some fluid coming out once I take this plug off. Not a lot, but some of it. So place a clean pan underneath, directly underneath the drain plug. This particular car has an 11mm drain plug on. Okay, and the only reason why there is some fluid coming out is because the engine is off. If the engine was running, there shouldn't be that big of a stream coming out. So I'm gonna just let it drain for a minute till it stops. So if you remove the fill plug with an Allen wrench, you'll get the rest of the fluid out, or most of it, except what's in this part of the pan. Now, I honestly don't recommend doing that. The reason being is because that is plastic. So if you break it, then good luck getting the correct fluid level until you're able to buy one and replace it. So to avoid making a mess, I'm going to use this and put it over the drain pan to catch all the fluid. The size of the bolts, if you want to know what kind of socket to use, is 8mm. Okay, so this is going to be a messy job. If you don't want oil in your hands, make sure you wear rubber gloves. Obviously your safety is up to you. Just loosen it up a bit so you can let some of the fluid drain for a minute. Okay. So as you let it tilt, you're gonna get more fluid out. After that, you can just hold it with your hand, remove the other bolts. Alright, so once the bolts are out, then just lower the pan down, empty it, filter came off. Okay. So there's the gasket, as you can tell. Alright, so the fact that the filter just fell off when I removed the pan is really not a good thing, because even though it's not bolted on, it should at least stayed on. So it's a good thing we're servicing this transmission. Now, using a pick, next step is to remove the seal. This seal is what keeps the filter in place. The new filter comes with a new one, of course. Alright, so while that fluid is draining, I'm going to go ahead and clean the pan. If you look in here, that is the fill plug. That gives you a better view right there. So remember, I honestly don't recommend messing with it. That way you don't disturb the level, when you screw it back on, and you avoid breaking it, because as you can tell, it's made out of plastic material. So here's our new gasket and a new filter. This is the old gasket. Now if you pay a closer look, these tabs right here, they need to be transferred from the old gasket to the new one. And doing that is crucial, because if you don't transfer these, you're going to over tighten the bolts and ruin the gasket and cause a major leak. So make sure you transfer all four to your new gasket before putting it on. The metal bushings have been transferred from the old gasket to the new one. Pan is clean. I also removed the magnet and cleaned it up. When you remove your pan, by the way, and you see a little bit of gray, which is metal, a little bit is going to be okay. A lot of it is not, because that's going to indicate severe wear on your transmission, and obviously metal pieces on the bottom of your pan, that's going to be a huge concern. So this was just normal, slightly gray, nothing bad, but it's all clean. So once the pan is clean, then it's just time to lay the gasket over it, okay, and it's ready to be installed. But before that, we're going to install the filter. And to make sure that the seal is not damaged during installation, just coat it with a very light coat of new transmission fluid before sliding it up in place. Another thing to do before installing the new filter is to wipe the edge, the mounting surface, so you get rid of that grease and dirt. That way when you install the new filter and gasket, there's not going to be any dirt getting in. So I lubricated the seal, like I said, with brand new transmission fluid so it doesn't get damaged. And just push it in. Make sure it's all the way in, and that's all there is to it when it comes to the filter. Once the filter is installed, it's time to install the pan back on. So install the retaining bolts finger tight first, run them all by hand, just snug them first. Just remember how tight they were when you took them off, and tighten them up about the same way. Do it in stages if possible. Just a little bit first. Crisscross. Allow the gasket to seat. I've been doing this for many years, so I can feel it when a particular bolt is tight depending on its size. So for this, just doing it like that with my hand, I know it's enough. This is another brand to use, made by Bilstein. This is specially formulated for European cars like Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagens and such. So this is giving you an idea of your options. You can get the OEM Volkswagen, you can get this one right here. That will definitely be a good option. So do your homework, and depending on how often you're planning to change the or how much money you want to spend, you can select your fluid. Now you gotta realize that you're saving money on the labor anyways, so why not put a high quality fluid? And since it is your own vehicle, you're gonna be the one making the decision. Using a couple of small picks to slide the cap off. Okay, you may have to pry it with the screwdriver, but that's how you take it off. So now you can either use a pump like this to pump the fluid in through the fill plug, or you can do what I'm going to do instead, which I'm going to run the hose all the way up, put a funnel inside the hose, and start adding fluid. Let the gravity take care of it. Once you have added about the same amount of fluid that came out, you start your engine and let it run to operating temperature. At this point the drain plug is on, so you run it. Once it reaches its operating temperature, you push the brake pedal so the tires don't move, put the vehicle in reverse, then neutral, and drive your shifter all the way to first, second, third, and drive. Put in neutral, reverse, back to park. And once you do that, remove the drain plug, and at this point, depending on how much fluid you put in, then either it will drip, meaning that it's full, or it may need just a little bit more, which it could be the case. You just add a little bit more fluid, looking underneath, obviously you're going to have a pan underneath so it catches it, and then once it starts dripping, you wait till the stream is gone and you only have a few drips, put the drain plug back on, and you run the vehicle through the gears again. Once you do that, then check the level again, add more if needed. So you do that a couple times, 3 max. You should not have to do it more than 3. So at that point, you know that your level is full. Put your drain plug on, you snug it up, remove your funnel and your hose if you did it that way, and put the cap back on. That's what it takes. Now you have the correct level.